The sky of Zareth 9 burned like fire. Purple clouds twisted in pain. Massive ships broke through the clouds, fleeing into the dark of space. The sound of panic filled the air. Alarms, explosions, screams. Every alien was running. Every soldier was escaping. But one man stayed behind. Captain Ray Carter, a human from Earth, stood on a high platform watching the chaos. His armor was cracked, his gun almost empty, and his heartbeat echoed inside his helmet. He whispered to himself, "Everyone's gone. Except me." The wind howled across the metal ruins. The smell of smoke and burning circuits filled the air. Above him, the once beautiful city of Zareth's capital was collapsing. Golden towers breaking into dust. Ray looked up at the largest ship rising into orbit, the Royal Escape Cruiser. It carried the last of the alien nobles. But then he noticed something. The Queen's chamber lights were still glowing inside the palace. She hadn't escaped. She was still there. Ray clenched his jaw. "Damn it," he said quietly. "She saved me once. I can't just leave her." He turned around and started running through the empty streets. His boots hit the cracked ground hard. Every step echoed between the broken buildings. Aliens had left in such fear that weapons, treasures, and even their wounded were left behind. As he ran, a sound came from the distance, a deep growl that made the ground shake. Ray stopped. His visor scanned the area. A black mist moved through the city like a living shadow. "The Devourers," he whispered. He had seen them before. Creatures made of energy and darkness. They didn't kill for food. They erased everything they touched. They had already destroyed 3 planets in this system. And now, they were here. Ray's communicator crackled. "This is command. All remaining units evacuate. Zareth 9 is lost." He turned it off. "I'm not leaving," he said. "Not yet." The palace was only 2 kilometers away now, but the air shimmered with energy. The Devourers were spreading faster. Buildings began to sink as if the ground itself was melting. Ray reached a bridge leading to the palace gates. Half of it had already fallen into the river of glowing lava below. He took a deep breath and jumped. For 1 second he was flying through smoke and sparks. Then he landed hard on the other side. Inside the palace walls it was quiet. Too quiet. Statues of the ancient alien kings lined the halls. Their faces were cold and still. He walked through the main corridor, his gun ready, lights flashing over cracked stone and golden carvings. Every echo of his steps felt like thunder. He remembered the first time he met the Queen, Queen Seraphina, years ago, during the Human Ashen War. She had the power to destroy his entire fleet, but had chosen peace instead. She saved his crew when everyone else called humans primitive savages. Now she was the one left behind. "Funny," Ray said softly. "You saved me then. Now it's my turn." A sudden roar echoed through the corridor. The black mist poured in through the shattered windows, swirling like smoke, full of glowing red eyes. Ray fired his plasma rifle. The beams cut through the shadows, lighting up the walls, but the creatures didn't stop. He ran toward the throne chamber, kicking open the golden doors. There, at the center, surrounded by broken guards, sat the Queen. Her silver armor was damaged, her crown cracked. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. When she saw Ray, surprise flashed across her face. "Human," she whispered. "Why are you still here? Everyone has fled." Ray raised his weapon and sealed the doors behind him. "Because you haven't," he said, "and I don't leave people behind." The Queen looked weak, almost ready to fall. "The Devourers will take this world," she said. "You cannot stop them." "Maybe," Ray said, checking his ammo. "But I can buy you time." She shook her head slowly. "You're kind, always choosing death over safety." Ray smirked. "We call it courage." Another explosion rocked the palace. The floor trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling as the roar of the Devourers grew louder. The Queen looked toward the ancient energy crystal at the center of the room, the heart of Zareth. If they reach that, she said, they will consume the planet's soul. Ray stepped beside her. Then we make our stand here. She looked at him, a human, small compared to her tall silver figure, but his eyes burned like fire. Why would a human fight for an alien queen? She asked softly. Ray smiled beneath his cracked helmet. Because you once believed humans were worth saving, he said. Now it's time I proved you were right. Outside, the black sky turned red as the devourers surrounded the palace. The sound of their screeches filled the air. Every alien ship was gone. Every creature had fled. Only two beings stood in the ruins, one alien queen and one human soldier. The fate of the world rested between them. Ray gripped his rifle tighter and looked toward the door. Let them come, he said. I don't run from nightmares. I fight them. The palace shook again. The sound of the devourers outside was like thunder mixed with screams. Every second felt heavier, darker. Captain Ray Carter reloaded his plasma rifle, breathing hard. Sweat ran down his neck under the cracked helmet. Across the hall, Queen Seraphina stood weakly beside the glowing crystal known as the Heart of Zareth. Her long silver hair was stained with dust, her eyes dimming. Human, she said, in a low, trembling voice. You shouldn't have come back, you'll die here. Ray looked at her, calm but fierce. Maybe, he said, but dying for something worth protecting, that's what being human means. The Queen turned her gaze to the tall, golden windows. Outside, the skies burned with black fire. She could see the shadows of her people's ships disappearing into the stars, all fleeing. She closed her eyes for a second. My people have abandoned me, even my generals. Ray moved closer. Not all life is loyal when fear comes knocking, he said. He walked toward her throne and placed a small metal device on the floor. It blinked softly. A human force field generator. What is that? She asked. Something from Earth, he replied. A gift from a race that refuses to give up. He activated it. A faint blue dome shimmered around them, blocking the dust and heat for a moment. For the first time, silence filled the room. The Queen looked at him, confused. You risked your life for me. Why? We are not allies. We are not even of the same blood. Ray gave a half smile. You're right. But you once saved my crew. You called it mercy. I call it a debt. And humans always pay their debts. Her face softened. That was years ago. I barely remember. I do, he said. You stopped the bombardment when we were surrounded. You said, no one deserves to die for pride. Those words stayed with me. The Queen turned away, her voice faint. And now I am the one surrounded. Perhaps it was pride that kept me here. The walls trembled again. The sound of the devourers grew closer, scratching, howling, crawling up the palace walls like a swarm of demons. Ray walked toward the window. His helmet visor scanned hundreds of moving heat signatures. They're coming from every direction, he said quietly. We don't have much time. The Queen looked at him with her glowing eyes. You could still escape. There is a transport under the throne chamber. Go, human. Save yourself. Ray turned to her. And leave you behind? Not happening. You don't understand, she said, stepping forward. I am not worth saving. My power is fading. My people are gone. The planet itself is dying. There is nothing left to fight for. Ray stared at her for a long second. Then he said softly, Then I'll fight for what's left of you. The Queen froze. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not a soldier. Not even her own kind. She looked at him with confusion, anger, and something else. Respect. You're a strange creature, human, she said. Your body is weak, your lifespan short, yet your will burns brighter than any sun. Ray chuckled. Guess that's our curse and our gift. A loud crash interrupted them. The main doors of the palace cracked open. The first wave of devourers burst through. Dark shapes made of mist and red light poured inside like liquid fire. Ray stepped forward, instantly raising his rifle. "Stay behind me!" he shouted. Bolts of plasma lit up the room, painting the walls blue. The creatures screamed as energy burned through their forms, but more kept coming. The queen raised her hands, gathering her last bit of energy. A white light spread from her palms, forming a barrier of pure force that stopped the swarm for a moment. The strain made her fall to her knees. Ray rushed to her, helping her stand. "You're burning your power too fast," he said. She looked up weakly. "If the heart of Zareth is destroyed, the planet will collapse. I have to protect it." Ray thought for a moment. His eyes darted to the glowing core. "What if I move it? Can it be carried?" The queen shook her head. "It is not an object. It is the planet's soul. It cannot survive outside its cradle." The floor beneath them cracked. Pieces of marble flew up. The devourers screamed again, breaking through the next wall. Ray fired again and again until his rifle clicked empty. "Out of ammo," he muttered. He pulled out a blade, a glowing human energy knife. The queen watched as he charged forward into the black mist, slicing through shadows that tried to reach her. Every strike was fierce, desperate. He was fighting not just for life, but for meaning. When the wave finally paused, the queen walked to him, trembling. "You could still run," she whispered. He turned his head, face covered in dust and light. "I'm done running," he said. "I made my choice the moment I saw your palace lights still burning." For a moment, silence returned. The queen looked at him with new eyes, not as an alien, but as something far beyond species or worlds. "Then we fight together," she said softly. Ray nodded. "Together." The camera of the scene would slowly pull back, the blue barrier glowing faintly in the vast ruins, surrounded by endless darkness. The queen stood beside the human warrior, their shadows joined by the same light. Outside, the devourers gathered again, their red eyes glowing in the dark like stars of death. The final battle was coming. Ray looked up at the ceiling as dust rained down. He whispered, almost smiling. "Earth always said, humans are bad at giving up." The first scream came like a thunderbolt. It wasn't human. It wasn't even alive. It was the sound of 1,000 shadows breaking into the light. Captain Ray Carter lifted his weapon and aimed toward the shattered gates. The devourers had arrived. The palace shook under their weight, black mist twisting into shapes of teeth and claws. Every step they took left behind glowing cracks as if the floor itself was bleeding light. Beside him, Queen Seraphina stood tall, her silver armor glowing faintly from her last energy reserves. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with fear. "They are feeding on the energy of this world," she said. "They will not stop until nothing remains." Ray grinned, loading a new power cell into his plasma rifle. "Then we'll give them something they've never eaten before." The first devourer lunged forward, a monster of shadow and lightning, tall as a war tank. Ray fired 3 times. Bolts of blue plasma hit the creature's chest, making it explode into smoke. But for every one that fell, 5 more appeared behind it. The queen raised her hand, sending out a wave of pure white light. The swarm screamed as it hit them, their forms melting like wax. But the queen staggered, almost collapsing. Ray caught her arm. "Careful. Don't burn yourself out." Her breathing was heavy. "My strength is fading, human. The heart's energy is being drained faster than I can protect it." Ray looked around, at the endless horde pouring through the hallways, the palace walls cracking, the lights flickering. There was no winning this the easy way. "Then we fight smart," he said. He grabbed a glowing crystal from his belt, a human device he'd built from alien tech. He slammed it into the ground. Blue light spread through the floor, forming electric traps. As the next wave came, the traps exploded, tearing the swarm apart in a storm of lightning. The queen's eyes widened. "What is this magic?" Ray smiled faintly. "Not magic, engineering. Humans build things that fight back." But then the palace's roof cracked open. A massive form dropped from above, darker than night, larger than a ship. It was the Devourer Prime, the leader of the swarm. It landed with a roar that shattered windows across the city. Its body pulsed with red energy, and its voice was like a storm of whispers. "Human," it hissed. "You should not exist here." Ray stared at it, unshaken. Yeah, he said. People tell me that a lot, the creature charged. Ray jumped aside just as its claw smashed through the marble floor, leaving a crater. He rolled, fired, dodged again. The plasma bolts barely scratched it. The Queen tried to strike with her power again, but the Devourer Prime unleashed a wave of dark energy that threw her across the room. She hit the wall hard and cried out in pain. "Seraphina!" Ray shouted. He ran to her, shielding her from another blast. Her crown had fallen. Her light was fading. "I can't hold the barrier," she whispered. Ray grabbed her shoulders. "Then I'll hold it for you." He activated the human shield generator again. Blue light wrapped around them both. Outside, the swarm smashed against the barrier, screaming in fury. Every impact made the air tremble, the sound like glass breaking again and again. The Queen looked at him, her voice weak. "You fight like one who has nothing left to lose." Ray smiled without looking back. "I lost everything once. My planet, my friends. But I learned something important. Fear doesn't win." The Queen stared at him in silence. For a moment in that chaos, she saw what made humans different. That strange, burning spirit that refused to die. The Devourer Prime roared again, pounding against the barrier. Cracks of red light spread across it. Ray looked at the crystal core of the heart of Zareth behind them, glowing brighter and faster. He had an idea, a dangerous one. "If we overload the heart," he said, "we can blast the entire swarm in one strike." The Queen's eyes widened. "It would destroy the palace. Maybe the planet." Ray reloaded his gun. "Yeah, but it'll destroy them too." The Queen hesitated. "And you?" Ray smirked. "I've had worse Mondays." She stared at him, half in disbelief, half in admiration. "Humans, you're mad." He nodded. "That's what makes us dangerous." Suddenly the floor split open. The swarm poured up from below, hundreds of them, their red eyes glowing like hellfire. Ray grabbed the Queen's hand. "We run!" They sprinted through the burning corridors. Debris fell around them. Alien statues collapsed. The Queen stumbled, but Ray lifted her, pushing through the smoke and heat. Everywhere he looked, the Devourers were there, crawling on walls, ceiling, floor. They finally reached the core chamber, a massive circular room glowing with white light. The heart floated in the center, pulsing like a giant heartbeat. Ray turned to the Queen. "You said it's the soul of your world." "Can it fight back?" She looked up, her eyes glowing again faintly. "Only if someone gives it a reason." He smiled. "Then I'll give it one." He connected his armor cables into the heart's base. Electricity rushed through him, pain, heat, power. His eyes flashed blue. The Queen gasped. "You can't, it will kill you." "Maybe," Ray said. "But let's make it count." Outside, the swarm roared louder than ever, storming toward the chamber. Ray stood tall, energy crackling around him like a living storm. The Queen rose beside him, her light returning. The door exploded. The swarm entered. Ray pointed his rifle forward and shouted, "Let's show them what humans are made of." The core chamber glowed like a dying sun. White energy pulsed from the giant crystal, the heart of Zareth, lighting the ruins in ghostly waves. The air burned with static. The ground shook. Outside, the swarm of devourers screamed, pounding against the last sealed door. Captain Ray Carter stood before the crystal, cables running from his armor into its glowing surface. Blue light raced through his veins. His heart felt like it might explode. He could feel the planet itself breathing through him, its pain, its anger, its fear. Behind him, Queen Seraphina watched, her silver eyes wide. "Human, stop, and your body cannot take this power," she cried. Ray grinned, his voice rough. "Can't stop now, Your Majesty. We've come too far." He turned, looking at the golden doors shuddering under the swarm's attack. Each hit echoed like thunder. Dust fell from the ceiling. They had minutes left and maybe less. Seraphina took a deep breath and stepped forward, her armor glowing faintly again. "Then we fight together," she said softly. Ray nodded. Always, the door exploded. The Devourers stormed in, a wave of black mist, teeth, and claws. Their leader, the Devourer Prime, entered behind them, massive and glowing red like a burning star. Ray aimed his rifle and shouted, "Come on, then!" Blue plasma bolts fired across the chamber, lighting up the darkness. The Queen raised her hands, releasing white light from her palms. Her power and Ray's plasma collided, forming a blinding storm that tore through the first ranks of the monsters. But the swarm didn't stop. They came crawling over each other, melting into the walls, turning into liquid shadow. The sound was unbearable, 1,000 screeches blending into one. Ray reloaded. His armor flickered, sparks bursting from his chest plate. He winced, feeling blood on his lip. The energy inside him was too much, like lightning trapped in a cage. The Queen saw it. "You're dying," she whispered. He smirked. "I've been dying since I landed here." The Devourer Prime swung one massive claw, breaking through the Queen's barrier. She fell backward, her armor cracking. Ray ran forward, slamming into the creature with everything he had. The impact shook the chamber. The Prime grabbed him, lifting him into the air. "You are nothing," it hissed. "Just flesh pretending to be light." Ray gritted his teeth. "Maybe, but even flesh can fight." He jammed his energy blade into the creature's chest. Blue light exploded, burning a hole straight through it. The Prime roared, throwing him across the room. Ray hit the wall hard. His armor broke apart in sparks. He coughed blood, struggling to stand. The Queen rushed to him, kneeling beside him. "Please stop. You've done enough." He shook his head weakly. "Not yet. Not while you're still breathing." Her hand trembled as she touched his shoulder. "Why? Why do you care for me, for a queen of another world?" Ray smiled faintly. "Because you believed in mercy. That's rare in this galaxy. You saved me once, now it's my turn." The Devourer Prime rose again, glowing brighter. "You cannot save anything, human. All light will fade." Ray looked at the heart of Zareth. Its glow pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. He realized the truth. The crystal was responding to him. The Queen saw it too. It listens to you," she whispered. "The heart recognizes your will." Ray clenched his fists. "Then let's make it fight back." He stepped toward the heart, placing both hands on its surface. Blue lightning spread through his armor. The entire chamber lit up, the crystal reacting to his human defiance. The swarm screamed as pure energy flooded the room. The walls cracked under the power. Ray's body began to glow. His voice echoed like thunder. "You want to consume life?" he shouted. "Then choke on mine!" "You want to consume life?" he shouted. "Then choke on mine." The heart erupted with blinding light, forming a massive energy wave that blasted through the chamber. The Devourers shrieked as they disintegrated, their shadows burning away, their essence turned to dust. The Devourer Prime roared one last time before being torn apart by the storm. The explosion threw Ray and the Queen to the ground. The light faded slowly. Silence returned, heavy, haunting silence. The chamber was destroyed. The walls were gone. Only the glowing core of the heart remained, floating gently above a crater. The Queen opened her eyes first. Her armor was shattered, but she was alive. She looked around, the swarm was gone. Every trace of darkness had vanished. Then she saw Ray, lying near the crystal, motionless. She crawled to him, her voice breaking. "Ray, human, please open your eyes." His armor flickered, lights fading. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, a weak breath, Ray's eyes opened slightly. He smiled faintly. "Told you. I don't run from nightmares." The Queen's silver eyes shimmered. She held his hand gently. "You saved my world," she whispered. "You saved me." Ray looked at the floating heart above them, glowing calmly now. "Guess it wasn't just me," he said softly. "Looks like your planet finally decided to fight back." The Queen smiled through tears. "The last defense," she whispered. "A human and a queen." The camera would slowly zoom out, the core chamber now half destroyed, glowing with quiet light. The human and the alien queen sat together beneath the heart, the last survivors of a dying world that had finally found hope again. But outside the ruins, deep in the dark sky, something still moved, faint shadows gathering once more. The war wasn't over. The silence after the blast felt unreal. No screams, no movement, only the soft hum of the heart of Zareth floating above the cracked chamber. Captain Ray Carter sat against a broken pillar, his armor still smoking. He could barely breathe, every muscle burning, but he was alive. The air shimmered with pale light from the glowing core. Across the room, Queen Seraphina stood weakly, her long hair covered in ash. Her silver armor was broken in many places, but her eyes still glowed, faint yet defiant. "The heart is wounded," she whispered. "But it still breathes." Ray looked up, exhausted but smiling. "Then so do we." He tried to stand and nearly fell. The Queen hurried to him, supporting his weight. You've given more than any human should, she said softly. He chuckled. You haven't seen what humans can give when the odds are bad. But the peace didn't last long. A low rumble echoed from the far walls. The ground trembled again. Serafina turned sharply, her expression darkening. No, it can't be. Ray aimed his damaged scanner toward the source. The display flickered with red warnings. Multiple readings. They're coming back, he muttered. The swarm's not gone. From the ruins above, black mist began to flow once more, smaller, thinner, but alive. The devourers were reforming, drawing energy from the heart's residual power. Serafina's voice trembled. The Prime may be destroyed, but its essence still lingers. They are fragments of its will. Ray's jaw tightened. Then we finish this once and for all. He moved toward the heart, looking up at its calm pulse. Can we use it again? Like before? The Queen shook her head. It's too weak. One more overload and the planet itself could die. Ray stared at the glowing crystal for a long second, then smirked. Good thing I'm not planning to blow it up this time. Serafina frowned. What are you thinking, human? Ray pulled out a small device from his armor, a rectangular piece of metal with a flickering blue light. A human neural converter, he said. It links thought to tech. Back on Earth, we used it to control war drones. The Queen's eyes widened. You want to connect it to the heart? Yeah, Ray said. If I can merge human control with the heart's energy, maybe we can direct it. Turn its power into a weapon we guide, not one that explodes. The Queen hesitated. That could kill you. He smiled faintly. So could breathing right now. Without another word, he began working, connecting wires from his armor to the device, linking it with the heart's base. The Queen watched, fascinated. For the first time, she saw how strange and fearless humans were, always ready to build something even in the middle of death. You humans are born engineers of chaos, she said softly. Ray laughed. We call it survival. As he worked, the heart began to react, glowing brighter, pulsing faster. The light spread through the cables, through Ray's armor, through the broken floor. The entire chamber began to hum like a living machine. Outside, the swarm gathered again. Thousands of shadowy forms swirled above the city ruins, their red eyes returning. The Queen raised her head. They're coming. Ray tightened his gloves. Then let's welcome them. The Queen stepped beside him. You cannot do this alone. Link me to it. Ray frowned. You sure? Your energy is already... I am Queen of Zareth, she interrupted. If my world must fight, I will fight with it. Their hands touched the crystal together. Blue and silver light merged, spiraling into a single beam that shot into the sky. The heart responded, alive, furious, reborn. Outside, the storm changed color. The clouds burned blue. The swarm screeched, twisting in confusion as lightning cut through them like fire. Ray and Serafina stood side by side, their eyes glowing, their thoughts united. They could feel everything, the pulse of the planet, the movement of the enemy, the power inside the heart. Ray shouted over the roar, "Focus it on their center." The old temple ruins. Serafina nodded, channeling the energy through him. Now, a beam of pure white light erupted from the heart, slicing across the sky like a sword of the gods. It struck the center of the swarm, and the world lit up. The explosion was silent, too bright for sound. When it faded, the sky was clear. The swarm was gone. Only the blue glow of the heart remained, calm once more. Ray fell to his knees, gasping. His armor smoked again. Serafina knelt beside him, touching his shoulder gently. You did it. He looked up at her weakly. No, we did. For the first time since the war began, she smiled. Not as a queen, but as someone who understood. You humans, she said softly, are impossible. He grinned faintly. Takes one to know one. The camera would pull back, showing the heart of Zareth glowing softly. The planet finally quiet. The human and queen kneeling side by side amid the ruins. But deep below the planet's crust, something else began to stir, a low hum, dark and steady. The war was not over. It was only changing shape. For the first time in centuries, the skies of Zareth 9 were clear. The black clouds were gone. The swarm had vanished. But deep beneath the ground, something was still alive, something worse. The heart of Zareth floated quietly above the broken chamber. Its glow was soft now, calm, almost peaceful. Yet Ray Carter felt a strange vibration through his armor. Slow, rhythmic, like the pulse of a sleeping beast. Queen Serafina stood beside him. her silver eyes watching the faint ripples of energy rising from the heart. "It's not over," she whispered. "Something has awakened below us." Ray tightened his grip on his rifle. "Let me guess. Bigger, meaner, uglier?" She gave a weak smile. "Older." The ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The cracks in the floor began to glow red. Ray looked down. "Looks like we hit the wrong nerve." Then it happened. A deep roar shook the entire palace. Not from the swarm this time, but from the planet itself. The heart pulsed violently, flashing from blue to red. Serafina gasped. "The core is destabilizing! The heart is breaking apart!" Ray's visor showed rising radiation and heat. "How bad?" "If it collapses, Zareth 9 will die," she said. "Everything, me, you, the skies, the oceans, all gone." Ray stared at the glowing crystal. "Can we stop it?" She hesitated. "Only if someone takes control of it from the inside. But no living being could survive that." Ray's jaw clenched. "Someone has to try." The queen turned sharply toward him. "No, you cannot mean." He stepped closer to the heart, looking at the swirling light within. "You said it needs a mind strong enough to hold it together. Maybe human stubbornness will do." Serafina grabbed his arm. "You've done enough. You saved this world twice. Don't throw your life away now." Ray looked at her, really looked. The proud queen who once called him primitive now stood with tears glimmering in her eyes. "I'm not throwing it away," he said softly. "I'm giving it meaning." The ground split wider. Red light burst upward. The heart screamed like a living thing. Energy waves tore through the walls. Ray placed his helmet on her hand. "If I don't come back, tell your people. Humans don't surrender." She shook her head, voice breaking. "I forbid it." He smiled faintly. "You can't forbid a human heart." Before she could stop him, he ran forward and jumped into the beam of light beneath the heart. The energy swallowed him whole. Inside the light, everything was soundless, only flashes of memory, pain, and fire. He saw Earth. He saw the faces of his fallen crew. He saw Serafina's eyes. Then came the voice of the heart, not words but emotion. It asked, "Why do you fight?" Ray's answer came like thunder in the silence. "Because someone has to." Outside, Serafina watched in horror as the heart's light turned white-hot. The entire chamber began to shake. She fell to her knees, whispering, "Please, survive." Suddenly, the heart's light expanded, filling the entire room, then the city, then the planet. The roar became a single blinding flash. When it faded, everything was quiet again. The queen slowly opened her eyes. The heart now floated calmly, pure blue once more. The cracks in the ground were gone. The energy storms had stopped, but Ray was nowhere to be seen. Her heart sank. She looked around desperately. "Ray, human!" Her voice echoed through the empty chamber. Only silence answered. Then she saw something, a faint flicker of blue light deep inside the heart's core. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Her eyes widened. "You're still there," she whispered. "You became part of it." Tears fell down her cheeks. She placed her hand on the glowing surface. "Rest, warrior of Earth, your spirit guards Zareth now." Outside the palace, dawn broke for the first time in years. The skies of Zareth were blue again. Life was returning to the planet. Flowers growing through cracks, rivers shining with light. The queen stood at the palace gates looking up at the sunrise. In her hand she held Ray's cracked helmet, the last piece of the human who had stayed when all others fled. She whispered, "You fought for a world that wasn't yours, and in doing so you saved us all." The wind carried her words across the ruins, through the valleys, into the endless sky. Far above, the heart of Zareth glowed once, a single bright pulse like a human heartbeat, and then faded gently. But deep within its core, a faint voice whispered through the light, "I'm still here." Watching the stars, years passed. The skies of Zareth 9 were blue again. The air was clean, the rivers alive, and the great cities that once lay in ruins now stood rebuilt, shining like silver under the twin suns. Yet even as peace returned, one name still echoed across every hall, every marketplace, and every child's bedtime story: Captain Ray Carter, the human who stayed when all others fled. The man who fought for a world that wasn't his, and became part of its heart forever. The queen's memory inside the royal garden, Queen Serafina walked among the glowing trees. Her armor was gone, replaced by a simple robe of white and silver. She stopped near a crystal lake, and there in the center floated a small sphere of blue light. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. The heart of Zareth. Every pulse reminded her of him, the human who had jumped into the storm to save her world. She whispered softly, "You still watch over us, don't you?" The wind brushed through the glowing leaves. For a moment she thought she heard a faint voice inside her mind. His voice. "Still here? Still keeping you safe?" Her eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. He had become one with the planet, a guardian of energy, a soul bound to the heart itself. The new age of Zareth under Seraphina's rule. The Zarethians changed. They no longer called humans primitive or reckless. Instead, they spoke of the courage of flesh, the strength of heart, and the spirit that never surrendered. Every year, they celebrated the Day of Light, the anniversary of the human sacrifice. Bells rang across the cities. Children carried flags painted with the blue flame, a symbol of human courage. In schools, teachers told the story of the last battle. They spoke of the moment when all aliens fled in fear, and a single human stayed behind to fight for their queen. A message from the stars one night. As the queen stood on the balcony of her palace, a strange signal appeared in the sky. The royal scientists rushed to her chamber. "Your Majesty," one said breathlessly, "we've received something from the heart, a pattern in the light waves." They projected it on the walls, a series of rhythmic pulses. Short, long, short. Seraphina's eyes widened. "It's Morse code," she whispered, "a human language." She remembered Ray teaching her once, years ago, how humans spoke through light. The scientists looked at her in confusion. "What does it say?" She smiled, tears shining in her eyes as she translated. "Still here, still human." For a long moment, no one spoke. Even the stars seemed to pause. The shrine at the center of the rebuilt capital stood a tall statue. Half metal, half stone, depicting a man in broken armor, holding a plasma rifle in one hand and a glowing sphere in the other. At the base, a single line was carved in both human and Zarethian script. He did not run. He chose to stay. Every visitor, every traveler from other worlds stopped to look at it. Some felt pride. Some felt awe. But all felt the same question burning inside them. Would I have stayed? That was his gift. Not power, not technology, but inspiration. He reminded the galaxy what courage truly meant. The Queen's final promise years later, as the Queen grew older, she returned to the core chamber, the place where it had all begun. The heart of Zareth still floated there, calm and beautiful. She placed her hand on its surface and spoke softly. "Ray Carter, my friend, my protector, you were not born of this world, yet you became its soul. If ever the shadows return, I will tell them that a human guards these skies." The heart glowed brighter for a moment, as if answering her. A faint echo filled the air. "You're not alone, Seraphina," she smiled, eyes wet. "I never was," she whispered. The legend lives far beyond Zareth in the deep silence of space. Ships from other galaxies spoke of a strange blue light that sometimes appeared near dying worlds, a pulse that scared away darkness, saving entire planets before vanishing again. Some said it was a myth, some said it was the spirit of a soldier, but the Queen knew better. It was him, the last human of Zareth 9, the man who fought for the Queen. And so the legend grew. All the aliens fled in panic, but the human stayed and became eternal. The final shot fades out. The camera zooms slowly toward the glowing heart, where one faint heartbeat echoes across the galaxy. A voice whispers in a strong, calm human. For Earth, for Zareth, for hope.